I am Maiya Quansah. I'm 23 years old. I'm a Manchester lass, born and bred in the north. And I am a musical theatre actor, whatever you want to call it. I just dabble here and there. I like to sing for fun. That's pretty much me.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So talk us through your kind of early years then. How did you get into performing?
It was one of those things where I didn't know I wanted to do it until I was like incredibly inspired by something or someone. So like before that, I started singing when I was around 4, but I remember my mum just being like, she can't sing, she's 4. Like, it's my grandma was like, Maiya, Maiya can definitely sing, Amanda, like she can sing. And my mum was just not having any of it because she was like, she's 4 years old, she just babbles. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got to like 9 when my mum is a instructor and she was teaching this family, and it was a very musical family. We just used to call them the Waters because they were so musical. Each one of them was a singer or played an instrument, or they were all amazing. They still are all amazing. And Judy was the mum, and she was a singing teacher, but she said that she doesn't take on students until they're a little bit older, because I was 9 at the time, and she said like to do with like the maturity of your voice, and you don't really want to mess with it, and not that fact that girls' voices like break so much that, you know, like how boys do, but obviously have that, our voice is mature, and we don't stay with that like really whiny baby voice we have when we're younger. So she was like, don't really want to mess with it before then, and mum just said like, please, can you just listen to it? If she can sing, like we'll do something about it. But like if she can't, finally tell her to shut up, because I used to just sing everything. And she was like, well, I don't really do singing lessons anymore. Mum was like, please. So she took me. I remember it was a rainy Thursday in January when I was about I was 9, and I went and sang A Whole New World. I sang both parts. Of course I did. And then my mum turned up half an hour later, and she opened the door, and my mum just was like, oh my God, was she that bad? And Judy was like, no, she's really good. I want to keep her. So from then I had singing lessons, and I used to have them every week on a Thursday, just half an hour long. She did these like summer schools, and they were 9 days long, and it was just like a bit of fun. Like she used to get kids from like, I think it was like, I was the youngest at the time. They usually took, I think it was like 11 to 16. But because I did singing lessons with her and stuff, she was like, oh, Maiya, like, come and do it. So I did that for 9 days, met like the most incredible people I'm still friends with now, like all these, like 12 years later, I still have the same friends I did when I did it the first time. And then I continued to do those for about 4 years, but I didn't have singing lessons like throughout the whole time, because I went to high school and she was also one of my high school teachers. So we couldn't always schedule them in because obviously things got busier. So I didn't have them with her anymore. But it wasn't until I was like 12. I went to the West End for the first time. It's the first time I've ever been to London to watch a show. I went with school on it was called an enrichment week, and we used to do like fun, enriching activities. And one of them was going to London, and so we had a tour around London. And one of the nights we went to watch Oliver, and Kerry Ellis was Nancy. And I remember just watching it and being so like, that is what I want to do. Like, I want to do that. It was the first like penny drop light bulb, all of those moments. It was the first time I'd gone, even though I'd done like little performing things here and there, that was truly what made me go, I want to do musical theatre. But I'd not taken really like any of the avenues to do it as a career, because I know some people come out the womb doing ballet, tap and jazz and lessons and going to acting lessons and doing all these workshops, and I just didn't do any of that. So when I was 16, I went to college. I went to Pendleton College in Salford, and I had the best 2 years, and it was just amazing. It really, really was. And that's when I was 16, I think it's when it kind of like, that's when it first catapulted, if that makes sense. Like, it's when I first started doing all like disciplined dance, like building my rep, which I didn't really do before. Like, obviously I had a couple of songs I like to sing, but like, which I still sing to this day, but I didn't know what building your rep was and all of these different things. And then I was fortunate enough to get a place at GSA off the reserve list, because I was very much like everyone else around me was getting in, and I was just very, disheartened and didn't understand what I was doing. I kept calling it what I was doing wrong. It's not like you're doing anything wrong at all. Not anything to do with doing something wrong. And look, I was one of the lucky people who did manage to get a place. and yet again had another amazing 3 years at drama school. But I feel like I'm the sort of person who kind of goes like, oh, what will be, like I'm whatever, like, so I didn't ever see myself coming straight out of drama school into a job, or even having this career I've had so far. I did not foresee that whatsoever, like
Yeah.
whatsoever. So I'm so grateful that obviously everything that's happened up until this point. And yeah, I'm just one of those people who kind of go, like, at drama school, like I said, it was never a thing that I was going to leave and go into a job. I was just like, oh, I'll probably, like, you know, have a couple of months in London. I don't know, like, just kind of going with the flow. And I kind of got, like, thrown into this, like, whole new world I didn't know anything about. Obviously, I know about it, but, like, it's so different when you're actually experiencing it. And I'm so grateful for that time because, like, you know, when you feel like you're grown, I was grown.
Yeah.
And I know I'm only 23 now, and I know that that was only coming up for 4 years ago now. But at 20, like between the ages of like 18 and 20, I thought I was so grown. Honestly, I thought I was an adult.
Yeah.
I'm not an adult whatsoever, and I just grew up and learned so much about myself and how to like navigate this career and how to look after myself during working as well, because that's the thing that I'd say drama school and training doesn't prepare you for. It doesn't prepare you for your time frames of the day to be completely shifted, like the times you eat your meals to be completely different. Like your life is incredibly different from what it is when you train. They don't prepare you for that. And how are they supposed to? Because no one is doing lessons at 6 till 11 o'clock at night. It's just so it's they can't prepare you for it. So it's kind of like, when you do learn on the job, and that's what I very much learned about myself. Like, wow, how I work. You really learn when you actually start working.
For sure.
So
for sure. Well, that's the thing as well, like, going on off what you just said, you know, like you say, it's all very well, like, you know, doing the training and stuff like that, but there are certain things that you think like, oh my God, I wish I'd have learned that then rather than now. But also, I mean, it's also great to learn on the job. It is great to just kind of like feel like, okay, I've got kind of the groundings of this, but I've just got to navigate my way through this particular. But then once you've done a couple of jobs, you're like, okay, I've got this. And then sometimes you're like, another spanner is thrown into the works, and you're like, okay, I thought I had it. I don't have it. But I think that's the beauty of it. Like, it's very much.
Need to get back on the horse.
It's very much like you never quite have it. You always have to just kind of like roll with it, and it's very much that kind of a career in the creative arts is very much like that. You know, you think you've got it, and then it's like, what? No, wait a minute. Wait.
And I think that's the beauty of it as well, because I think if we did get complacent and got used to it, or got, maybe not used, but like comfortable, you don't grow in your comfort zone, do you? So the more you can be pushed out your comfort zone, the better. So I think that is the beauty of it, in the sense that, like, no job that you're going to do is ever going to be the same. Each show you're going to give is going to be completely different. What requires for one job is going to be completely different to another. So we have to be versatile. We have to have this chameleon-like life where we can just adapt to anything that's thrown at us. And I think that's why I'm biased. I'm very biased, but I think that creatives are the best kind of people, because no matter what you throw at people, you can kick us while we're down, but I can damn well tell you that we're going to get back up.
It's that resilience, isn't it? Because I think as well, you know, when you go up for a job, whether it's, you know, as a performer or a writer or anything, like, you know, there are going to be many times where you're told, no, not this time, or, you know, come back another time, or, you know, you might not even get to be seen. And like you said before, it's hard. That's that kind of hamster wheel thing is difficult, because you're like, when is it my time to get off? Like, I'm on this, when is it my time? You know. So I think because of that, when you're then in a job, and like you say, somebody throws a spanner in the works, or somebody, you know, like you say, kicks you when you're down, you're like, I'm so used to this. Like, I can absolutely for sure do this. And the whole comfort zone thing is a thing I always say to my kids, like, it's not about being comfortable, it's about being happy and ready. And if you're happy and ready, we're good. If you're comfy, we might have a problem, because I feel like that's why I hate to over rehearse my kids. Like, we have a term to do our full scale production, and people go, you have 10 weeks, and I'm like, and they're like, what? That's not enough time for kids of that age, and I'm like, trust me, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Because
It
if they get on the dress rehearsal and the dress rehearsal is absolute, like they bomb the dress rehearsal, the show will be brilliant. And I say this every single time, because they will have last minute panics at the dress rehearsal. They don't know what they're doing, they don't know their lines, they don't know stage left, stage right, they don't know what's happening, where their prop is, what they're doing. And it will be an absolute train wreck for that whole weekend of dress run.
Yeah.
Then the show is always brilliant, because they've done the bit that they thought they couldn't do. And I always say to them, like, it's not going to be that bad. Like, you know, when you said you didn't know what you're doing, well, you do though, because you did it. You know.
Exactly. And the thing is, there is that saying, bad dress rehearsal, good show.
Yeah,
because that's what the dress rehearsal is for. You're allowed to make mistakes. And the thing is, you're allowed to make mistakes in a show as well, because then it shows you how you bounce back and how you deal with a mistake within the show. Because obviously in a dress rehearsal, not that it stops, but say if something went wrong and it really needs to be fixed, then it can be stopped. But in a show, unless it's obviously dangerous, like, you have to carry on, you have to power with it. And sometimes you can see the fear. That fear is awful. The look in someone's eyes if they forget something or you forget something. It's that like 30 seconds of panic that feels about 5 minutes. Like,
yeah.
But that is a skill that, like, you don't get taught. Like, you have to, like, it's the improv side of it, isn't it?
So you said about your training then. How do you think that kind of stands you in good stead? And do you think for people who don't have training that it's a total no-go into the career? How do you kind of like see it?
When I was at drama school, like, actually, no, before that, let's wind up, let's go back. So before I went to drama school, I put so much pressure on myself to be at this institution or be at a institution and train, and I made myself ill over it. And when I was at drama school, as much as I love training, I realised that it's really not the be all and end all. It's really not the only way to navigate yourself into this career. Because you know what? Education is not for everyone. Being in a routine such as training isn't for everyone. And that doesn't mean that you can't get into the industry. There is so many avenues and ways in. It's just that obviously having training, your third year is catered as very much as a bridge into the industry, and that's what makes it easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I had a question today. I did a Q&A with some college students who were probably in the same position as me as I was 7 years ago. And one of the questions was, like, if you don't want to go to drama school in, like, London, if I want to go to one in Manchester or one in Scotland or Wales or whatever, like, will I still get jobs? Will I still be deemed as, like, an actor? And I was like, it does not matter where you train. You could not train. You could train. You could do years on cruise ships and then come into the... Do you know what I mean? Like, it does not matter. It really, really, really doesn't matter, because once you're out there, we're all out there together. It doesn't matter whether you went to Lane, GSA, Mount View Central, RADA. It really, really doesn't matter. Half the time, people don't even look at that. They just look at what you give them in the room. So just be amazing.
Yeah.
And be like, I want this job, and you're going to give me this job. That is all it's about. It's not about where you trained.
Yeah, and also
feel like that, but it's not like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like also as well, I think like after you've trained somewhere, the first job that you get, that kind of ends up being your training. So when you go to a next job, like for me, nobody ever asks me now where I trained. Somebody did the other day for like I'm working with a different company at the moment, and she said to me, can you do like a little bio, and it has to include like where you trained? And I was like, oh my god, I'm only 26. I was like, I haven't done that in years.
Yeah, no one's asked me forever.
Yeah, literally. So I was like, oh my god, because they don't ask you now, because they look at your resume of what you do currently and what's happening now, and they talk about that.
Half the time they are looking at who you've worked with in the industry, who what jobs you've had, and even if you only had one job or you've had 10 jobs, that's what they're interested in. They want to see the caliber of work you've done and what you have to offer. And you always give them what you have to offer in the room, because, and I said this the other day, when you audition in front of a panel, when you audition in front of anyone, a job interview, anything like that, they want you to get the job. It makes their job so much easier. They don't want you to come in and mess up and put loads of pressure on yourself and be apologizing for all of these things. Like, they just want you to come in and be like, this job's mine, because it makes their job incredibly, because they go, there you go, there they are, that's easy, cast.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, done, tick. Like, that's what they want. They're not out there. They're not these horrible people that out to get you. And it's not that. It's supposed to be a supportive environment because they want you to get the job.
Yeah, for sure.
That is what you're there for. Do you know what I mean? They wouldn't have you in otherwise. Channel your nerves and use your nerves to good. Don't let them hinder your performance. Don't let them eat you up, because I hate it when I know that people get so nervous that, because even I've got to that point sometimes where I'm so nervous that I can't even get up, like my mouth is dry and I'm thinking, Maiya, why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah.
Like, channel these nerves into your performance and give just everything you've got, and then afterwards you go, oh, why was I so nervous?
Yeah.
Everyone does it. Why was I so nervous? Why did I beat myself up? Why did I do that? So it's like a lesson for next time, isn't it?
When you're working with a company, how do you feel working as a team?
I love it, and I've been so grateful. Well, that's great. I'm grateful for the people I've met, but I'm so lucky in the sense of the people that I've met have been so like-minded to me, and some of the greatest people I've ever met, and each person has brought something to my life, because we do have that level of respect for each other as people, but as performers as well. And I've always been in a very supportive rehearsal process, which means that you can make mistakes and you can be a bit silly and create and do those types of things. But because it is such a safe space, you then feel more comfortable being yourself, which is a beautiful thing, because how often do you actually get to feel 100% yourself? And being able to do that sometimes in front of people that you've just met, because they do create such a safe space. Like when we were rehearsing for Rent, I cannot tell you, we gelled so fast and were so just up in each other. Well, I say up in each other's spaces, but I don't mean it like that, because obviously we had so many COVID regulations, but I mean as in spiritually, we were all on the same plane. We really, really were, and we just got it.
Yeah.
And that straight away already had a level of respect for each other's performers, whether we'd met each other, when we'd worked together before. It was just a beautiful, beautiful process, and having that respect is so important. It really, really, really is. Just respect as people, that just even outside the boundaries of a rehearsal room, just as life, being a kind and respectful person isn't hard. It's not a challenge. It's not a challenge whatsoever.
No. And I think when you then, like we said before about the whole resume thing, and people are looking at what you've done and these kinds of things, they also talk to people and they go, okay, on paper, this person looks like a fantastic person, done all of these great things. I'm watching them and they're ticking every box, but what are they like to work with? What are they like to sit down and chat with? What are they like as a company member? At the end of the day, if you're not a nice person and people don't want to work with you, it's like, bye-bye.
Preach. That's what I mean. You could have the most extensive resume, but don't have a very good name because you're not a nice person to work with. But then you could work with someone who has an really extensive resume, but then they're the nicest people, and you had the best time working with them. And that's the thing is, that is half of the job as well. Your talent, but also your character, the credibility you have as a person is just as important as your talent.
I just think, just be you in the room, and that is what they're looking for. They're not looking to trick. Yeah, they're not looking to catch you out. And I think that's the thing. You always think that, don't you? You're don't.
They're not there to catch you out. They just genuinely want you to go in. Say if you have material, prepare the material to the best of your ability and just be amazing. That's literally all they want. That is it. And the thing is, on that message as well, of you could go into an audition, absolutely smash it out the back doors and be like, do you know what, I felt really good about that, and not get the job. That is fine, because do you know what, in 9 times out of 10 in those cases, they will come back to you for another job and you'll end up getting that.
Yeah,
because that door closed doesn't mean they don't remember you, and doesn't mean they're not going to call you in for another job.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, that's what happens. So sometimes you can get yourself so hell-bent on a job and think, oh, well, I did amazing at that audition, and why didn't I get it, and really frustrate yourself. But then you realise that door closed because another one is about to swing right open. So never worry about rejection. I know it's easier said than done, because you need to have your moment. I always say, give yourself a day. If you get a no, or any form of rejection, give yourself a day.
Yeah.
And the next day, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You give yourself a day and don't take it into your next day.
Yeah, for sure. So discipline-wise, you've got singing, acting, dancing. Which do you think comes most naturally to you, and which do you think you definitely have to work hardest at?
Singing, and I definitely have to work hardest at dance, because I started dance. I had rhythm. I've always had rhythm, but I was not a trained dancer. Mm-hmm. So technically, I've had to work really, really, really hard, and I still have to work hard now. So not that I really over lockdown, I haven't really say danced per se, like disciplined dance, but when I have done some dancing, it really makes my brain go because like singing does come easy to me, and like acting side of stuff, but like that's what I find is most important. Like, you might not have the best technique, but as long as you use your face and your body, and like half the time people just looking at your face anyway, obviously you can appreciate someone who's an amazing dancer. Yeah, I really do, because I know how technically difficult it is to do the things that they're doing. And I know that I probably, as much as I try, I've not had the 10 years plus experience they've had. Yeah. But I always make sure that I never let myself like trail behind. I will always work incredibly hard at my dance, because I know that it isn't my strength. Yeah, for sure. So I know it'll never be maybe up to the par of my singing and my acting, but I will always try really hard. I will always give it my all with dance, because I don't ever want to slip behind or ever want to not be able to give my all in everything I do. So that I do work really hard at dance. And that's the thing, sometimes you'll see people like yourself on stage where that the dance is your weaker element, but because of the energy and the enthusiasm and the nobody else would ever say that. People are like, what, really? Oh, I wouldn't, Yeah, so it's just crazy. I remember when I did it was in 6, and that had a lot of dancing. To me, that like I really struggled learning that choreography. Like, not gonna lie, I had multiple breakdowns, and thank God Carrie Ann is my complete spirit animal, because she'd lift me up and be like, you can do it, and I'd be like, I can't do it. And she'd be like, yes, you can. And then of course I would do it, and I would get it right. And I can't remember who it was, but after one of the shows, someone had watched and been like, oh my God, you're such a good dancer. And that for me was like the biggest compliment ever, because like I was like, oh my gosh, someone said I was a good dancer. I was like, oh, I can't cope with that. I was so happy. How do you prepare for a role then when you get given one? And do you have any pre-show rituals that you do? Ooh, I want to say my kind of approach to a rehearsal process or a role has been different each time I've done it, because when I started 6, obviously it was a very new musical, didn't really know anything about it. However, because we had to portray these women that obviously are real historical figures, we had to be true to them in some ways, but then also we had to remember that we were also portraying a pop star, because that was the premise of the show. But obviously we did need to respect the fact that we are playing these women and had to be true to their truths as well. So 6 had a very, very, even though it was new, and obviously what we were creating was new, but had a very extensive research period where we very much did have to like watch the documentaries, like read a lot of things. Like we did have to do like thorough research, because like I said, you obviously have to remember that you are playing real people, so you have to know about these people, and the questions do come up, so you have to know the answers. But obviously not knowing the answers is one thing, and actually applying it to your work is another. Sure. So that was like a challenge in itself, because obviously as we were creating these new characters, we also had to be authentic too. So that obviously had its challenges. I hope they paid off. And then with Katie's, obviously we got that bit. I didn't even really get to have a real like rehearsal process with that, but yet again that was going to be even more collaborative than 6, because in the sense of it being a song cycle, they were thinking, oh, do we put a little bit of dialogue in, do we need it? Like it was going to be very much of a, like, from what I remember, that when we spoke about what the rehearsal process was going to be, it was probably going to be a lot more like improv, and a lot more like cast input as well with being directed, because they were very much like, we don't really know what we want either, so bring something to the table and we'll all work together. Group effort. Yeah, very much a group effort. Obviously like Dom definitely, like, obviously writing the musical, knows exactly what he wants, but obviously like you had that freedom to come in and try something new, and you go, I know I like that, do that. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that freedom is lovely, because it's not often that you do get that creative freedom.
Yeah.
So to be able to do that is incredible. And then also with Ren, even though obviously it's a long-standing musical, it's been around for decades, this production in particular was like, it felt like a new show, because we were navigating in this world that nobody knew anything about. So, and it was one of those very much of like life imitating art. And I remember Luke used to say it all the time, because he would say like, we are doing a show that was set in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, we were just like, and then when we actually broke it down, it's like, wow. And because I played Mimi before when I was at college, like way back, and like I always said to myself, I want to do it again, want to do that show again, and it's been like a really big dream of mine. And then getting to do it again, I have to finish the run. We have to come back. I don't know when that's going to be, but I have to finish it.
Yeah.
Like that for me this time, I'm like, I feel like I got everything and possibly more I could have out of Mimi. And that was just looking between the lines, but like pulling out areas of her character, like when I like gone through the scripts and stuff again and like sang the songs again and added different things that I'd never done before and I've never seen other people do. And that wasn't me out of being like, I'm going to play her completely different, because it was just very much, I just lifted what was off the page. I didn't try and be something or change her. I just used exactly what I saw on the page. And that rehearsal process for me was one of the best rehearsal processes I've had. I know I've not had many, like Rent was only my third job, but it was very much like I got to play this character I've played before, but add so many more layers to her that maybe people have never tapped into before. And that doesn't mean that my Mimi is better or worse than anybody else. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's different. And during the rehearsals, we very much had a process where, like, it wasn't like we sit, learn all the music, and then we get it up on its feet, and then we do runs. It was like we learnt a song, and then we set it. We learnt a bit, and then we set it. And for me, in my brain, that just really helped and really worked, because I could apply things and work in and notice things that I hadn't before. And getting to work with Luke and Katie and Tom in navigating this show was just team goals. It really was. It really was, because we were so connected to the piece, because obviously that everything that was going on, but also like it just gave like some of the songs and some of the text just different meaning to before. It really did. Unless you were a fly on the wall in that studio, I can't even explain it. It was just, the rehearsal process for that was something else. But rituals, what rituals do I have? Do you know what, that is such a good question. My ritual when I was in sixth, this is probably gross, but I always used to have to go for a wee 15 minutes before we opened the show.
Yeah.
That was my ritual. Like, without fail, whether I needed one or not, I always went for a wee. Yeah. So maybe that's too much information, but that was one of my rituals.
Yeah.
I'm also like I like to have like a moment of calm before
zen.
I like to come out of zen. So I usually sit, like not reflect, but I kind of sit, I kind of like get myself ready. I maybe do a bit of bubbling in my straw with my bottle. I always do a little bit of bubbling, and try not to eat too close to the show. That's another, like I say, ritual that I would always try and eat a good amount before the show, because you don't ever want it repeating on you. I'm telling you that for free. You don't want that. I'm trying to think what else, right, ritual stuff I had. I can't even think. I didn't even really get to do like the run of Rent, so I didn't get to have my rituals.
Yeah.
But I think it was definitely the wee thing. It was definitely every single time, 15 minutes before the show.
It just gets embedded, doesn't it? And then it's like, oh my God, if I miss it, and I feel like I don't need to go, but if I don't go, if we're halfway through,
and you can't leave the stage, so like I had to go regardless whether I needed it or not. So I always just that was, I think, like, if you can call that a ritual, maybe that's too much information, but like that was like my ritual.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. This is a bit of a random one. This is one of my random ones. If you could enter the Olympics, what sport would you choose to enter?
Javelin. I would choose javelin.
A massive stick.
I would be I don't even know, do you call them a javeler? Is that the wrong word?
I think it's just a javelin
Just javelin. Just the I don't even know what you call them. Just I would love to be. I think being a javelin. I don't even know what you call it. Being in the sport of javelin, I think that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. Why not? Yeah,
I'd do some javelin.
The more we say it, the more the word sounds weird.
Let's not say it anymore. I'm gonna say maybe I'll abandon that and say, like, I don't know, high jump or something.
Oh my gosh. So have you got a favourite place that you visited, or a dream holiday destination that you've got?
Oh, the most wonderful place I've ever visited, hands down, is Thailand. It was just the most I sound like a broken record when I talk about it, but me and my boyfriend just had the most incredible time there. Like, truly, I have never ever been so happy. I was just like, oh, this is what bliss feels like.
Yeah.
I just had it was the most wonderful holiday ever. And a holiday destination that I like dream about is probably the Maldives, because I've got this thing about, I'd just love to be on one of those, like, the huts in the middle of the ocean,
on the stilts,
and I can just like walk out and I'm just in the sea, and it's like that nice temperature sea, and the sun is like beaming down, and I've got like a drink in my hand, and that would just be perfect. Like, I just want to be like on a bubble in the ocean.
But right now, a caravan in Cornwall would be just sufficient.
I would not complain about
anywhere.
I would not complain about that whatsoever.
Literally anywhere. Like, we've got caravan sites literally like 10 minutes away, because we live right on the coast. We're like beach city. Like, it's just it's crazy. But we can't get to the beach because we'd have to drive. So it's like, it's like 10 minutes.
I can see it. I can see it.
So yeah, I was actually asked the other day, where would you want to go on holiday? I was like, well, Tenby looks lovely. And they're like, don't you live in Pembrokeshire? I'm like, I do, but that would be lovely right now. I mean, for sure. Yeah. So lockdown life, how have you kind of like navigated being in lockdown? What kind of stuff have you been up to? Because I know, like, obviously you said about rent, things have been pulled and cancelled and postponed and stuff like that. What have you been up to kind of like keep yourself going during this time?
Gosh, not gonna lie, I've been probably so unmotivated, and so like, just it was weird, because it was kind of like a switch in my head that just like went off. Like, January, February, March seems like a completely different year, and when we got back from Thailand, we were all in this kind of like really happy, really just like a honeymoon, just got back from a holiday, and it came back to like people panic buying toilet rolls, and there was no hand sanitizer or hand wash anywhere, and there was no perishables. I just didn't understand. So it's kind of like, from that moment, and like I said, a switch went off, and I just went in myself. And it was just over that period of time where like more things got cancelled, and do you know what I mean? It was just and I couldn't really, for me, I couldn't understand the reality that we were living in. I still don't get it now. I still can't believe that a year later we're still here. And I was just talking to a friend just before this call, and she did make a very good point. And she said, but can you imagine if someone told us last March that this is going to be like this for another year, you would have been out of your mind. So, and I was like, you know, that is such a good point, but it probably would have given me like an end, like a stamp.
And stamp.
That's when it's going to end. But like, even now I look back, even as like treacherous as 2020 was, the four things that really like made that year and like pop out to me is I passed my driving test.
Yay!
I didn't know that was going to happen, and I passed the first time, and I can tell you, I've never been happier. Me and my boyfriend moved out, and we got our own house.
Oh, amazing.
I did rent.
Yeah.
I think those are my three things, actually. I want my photos, my three. Like, those are the three things that really like made that year for me. And within all of everything that happened last year, I'm so glad that I have something to pull from last year and be like, do you know what? Even though maybe 60% of it was bad and 40% was good, I'm holding on to the 40%, because like, if we didn't have last year, maybe I wouldn't have passed my driving test. Maybe I would still be learning now. Maybe me and my boyfriend wouldn't have got our house. Maybe all these things wouldn't have happened. So in a way, as it's been, I am grateful, and I can't say I've really like done much work, but really been motivated. At the time when we first went into lockdown, I found it really, really hard to sing and really, really hard to perform. And I know I wasn't alone there. It was like weird, like kind of like this other virus other than COVID that like kind of swept across the acting and industry world, and we all kind of just like were like, no, I can't. I've trained for years and I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Kind of went like that, and it took me a little bit to kind of get back on my feet of like singing and performing and this whole like Zoom and doing things online. I was a bit like, oh, I don't know how it translates, like. So I'm glad that, like, obviously not 100% glad that obviously last year happened, but I'm glad that the things that did happen, I kind of just like grabbed them with both my hands and we're just like, let's run with it, because like, and that was the thing, it kind of like give you a purpose, and that was the thing last year, finding like a purpose and yeah, just getting to enjoy like the simple joys, I think was one thing that got me through. Like my boyfriend, blessing me, many a time would pick me up off the floor and be like, let's go on a walk, and I'd be like, okay, like have that, I probably would have been even more of a hole. So
yeah, and I think as well, like you said, you know, it's about now like the fact that you've come through that, and like you know, we try hopefully starting to see a little bit more light at the end of the tunnel, but like exactly. you've kind of gone like, well, if I can do that and we can live through that, think about the things that you know that you can achieve that before maybe you thought, oh, I can't do that. We're going to do a quick fire round now before we finish. So these are just quick fire questions. Just, go for whatever you think.
Okay.
So ice cream or jelly?
Ice cream.
Chocolate or sweets?
Chocolate.
Heels or flats?
Flats.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
In or out?
In.
Beach or park?
Beach.
Pink or purple?
Purple.
Blue or green?
Blue.
Bags or shoes?
Shoes.
Adventure or chill time?
Adventure.
TV or radio?
Oh no. TV. No, I don't know. I'm gonna say TV. TV.
Okay, last one. Crisps or popcorn?
Crisps.
Good girl. might have just ended the call there.
Crisps, well done.
Yeah. No, crisps is a good shout. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And my last question for you is hopes and goals for 2021. What do you want to happen, achieve, or just go with the flow?
I would love to have a holiday. That's me being extremely selfish, but I would love to have a holiday. I really, really would. I've got like such a travel bug. I have to like experience as many and see as many things as possible. So definitely a travel, just to be as happy as possible, just to make other people happy. Hopefully do another solo concert. That I would love that to happen sometime this year. And also get to just work on a new project. I would love to be a part of another new musical. So if that could happen, I would also be really happy with that. So I think I'm going to say those three things.
Lovely. Well, I mean, I wish you all the very best, and thank you so much for chatting with me today. I've honestly had such a wonderful time.
And me too. Thank you for having me on.
That's okay. No, you're more than welcome. So, honestly, thank you so much. I've really had a lovely time, and I will send it to you, and I'd love to keep in touch and chat again soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely. Take care of yourself. Have a lovely
have
weekend.
A good day.
See you later.
Thank you so much, Maiya, for a wonderful chat. I had such a fantastic time, and I'm sending all my very best wishes to you and your family for 2021. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, to like, subscribe, share, and click the little bell at the top so you can kind of get a notification every time I do a video. Thank you to all of my special guests for having a chat with me. I've had a wonderful time, and I hope you're enjoying watching them too. Take care. See you soon.